Netanyahu to meet Trump in US to discuss Iran. Two babies among 53 people dead on or missing after boat capsize off Libya. Hong Kong media mogul Jimmy Lai sentenced to 20 years in prison. UK PM stammers communications chief quits amid Epstein scandal fallout. Good afternoon and welcome to the world in 30 minutes on Politics and Business Television. I am Omike Joseph Matthew. Many thanks for joining us. Details of this news, stories and more content to come after this break. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is set to travel to the United States to meet President Donald Trump. The meeting comes after talks between the US and Iran in Oman over the weekend, and the two leaders are expected to discuss the ongoing negotiations with Tehran. Netanyahu wants the talks to include limits on Iran's ballistic missiles and an end to its support for groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. This will be the seventh meeting between Trump and Netanyahu since he returned to office last year. Analysts say Netanyahu will likely press Trump to take a tougher stance on Iran's missile program. Iran, however, says its missile program is off limits. Iranian officials insist that discussions should focus only on the nuclear issue. Meanwhile, Iran called the Oman talks a step forward and expressed support for continued dialogue. In the meantime, Sydney police used pepper spray on protesters on Monday as a rally against a visit to Australia by Israel's President Isaac Herzog turned violent. The head of a state's tightly secured four-day visit was aimed at consoling Australia's Jewish community in the wake of the December shooting at Sydney's Bondi Beach that killed 15 people at the Hanukkah festival. But he was met with protests in Australia's two largest cities on Monday evening, with a Sydney rally turning violent as police hit protesters and members of the media with pepper spray. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese had urged people to be respectful of the reason for Herzog's visit, saying he would join the president to meet with the families of those killed at Bondi Beach. The New South Wales state government invoked new powers, giving police greater powers to control demonstrations prior to the rally. An attempt by protesters to overturn those powers in the state Supreme Court failed just before the rally began, local media reported. Not far from the protest, Herzog took part in an event on Monday evening titled An Evening of Light and Solidarity for the Victims of the December 14 killings. Two babies, a rubber boat carrying dozens of people capsized off the coast of Libya, leaving at least 53 people dead or missing, including two babies. The incident happened on February 6 north of the city of Zuwara in northwestern Libya. The International Organization for Migration said the boat, which had 55 people on board, was carrying refugees and migrants from African countries. It had left Zawiya late on February 5 and overturned about 6 hours later. Two survivors were rescued and given emergency medical care. The tragedy is part of a growing crisis on the central Mediterranean route. According to the IOM's Missing Migrants Project, more than 1,300 people went missing along the route in 2025. This latest incident brings the number of refugees and migrants reported dead or missing this year to at least 484. Japan's Prime Minister Sanai Takachi has promised to cut taxes and keep her cabinet intact as she celebrated her Liberal Democratic Party's landslide victory in Sunday's general election. Takachi's pledge on Monday came as projections by NHK broadcaster showed the conservative LDP securing 316 seats, in the 500-member National Assembly and winning a historic two-thirds majority in the lower house. The result marked the best result for the LDP since its founding in 1955, surpassing the previous record of 300 seats won in 1986 under the then Prime Minister Yoshihiro Nakasone. LDP's junior partner, Japan Innovation Party, won 36 seats, while the main opposition, Centrist Reform Alliance, managed to keep only 49 of the 172 seats it previously held. Analysts credited the LDP's triumph to the extraordinary popularity of Takachi, who is Japan's first female leader, and say it will allow her to pursue significant changes in Japan's security, immigration, and economic policies. A Hong Kong court has sentenced pro-democracy media tycoon Jimmy Lai to 20 years in prison under Beijing's sweeping national security law in a verdict that media and right groups have described as cruel and profoundly unjust. The sentence on Monday ends Hong Kong's most high-profile national security prosecution and a legal saga spanning almost 5 years. Lai, the founder of the now deformed Apple Daily newspaper, was first arrested in August 2020 and was found guilty late last year on 2 counts of foreign collusion and 1 count of seditious publication. Lai's sentence of 20 years was within the most severe penalty band of 10 years to life imprisonment for offenses of a grave nature. The Hong Kong court said Lai's sentence was enhanced by the fact that he was the mastermind and driving force behind foreign collusion conspiracies. The 78-year-old, who is also a citizen of the United Kingdom, has denied all the charges against him, saying in court that he is a political prisoner facing prosecution from Beijing. Meanwhile, the UK is opening its doors to thousands of more Hong Kongers, allowing adult children of British nationals, status holders and their families to apply independently, the government announced on Monday. The move comes amid a continuing erosion of rights and freedoms in Hong Kong and follows the 20-year prison sentence of British citizen Jimmy Lai under Beijing's national security law. Adult children of British national status holders who were under 18 at the time of Hong Kong's 1997 handover to China will now be eligible to apply independently of their parents. Their partners and children will also be able to move to the United Kingdom under the expanded route, with an estimated 26,000 people expected to arrive over the next 5 years. A statement on the UK website on Monday revealed this. The expansion honors the UK's historic commitment to the peoples of Hong Kong and comes amid continuing deterioration of rights and freedoms in the territory. Officials highlighted the sentencing of Jimmy Lai, a British citizen, to 20 years in prison under the Beijing-imposed national security law as evidence of growing repression. Outrage. A South Korean official has been expelled from his party after suggesting that the country import young women from Vietnam or Sri Lanka to help boost its low birth rate. Kim Hing-soo, head of Jeondo County, made the remark during a town hall last week, saying the women could be married to young men in rural areas. South Korea is facing one of the lowest birth rates in the world, with warnings that its population of 50 million could shrink by half in 60 years. However, Kim's comment, which was broadcast on television, caused public outrage and a diplomatic protest from Vietnam. His apology the following day did little to calm the backlash. The town hall meeting was originally held to discuss a possible merger between Jeondo County and a nearby county, a move considered by regions with declining populations. Kim said he tended to highlight rural population issues, but admitted that his choice of words was inappropriate, according to local media. You're still watching The World in 30 Minutes live on Politics and Business Television. Still to come, UK Prime Minister stammers communication chief quits amid Epstein scandal fallout. Do stay with us. nice to have you back on Politics and Business Television, reaching live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. And now, the rest of the stories. United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing turmoil in his government after two of his top aides resigned over the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. On Monday, Starmer's communications chief, Tim Allen, stepped down a day after his chief of staff, Mark Sweeney, quit. The controversy centers on Starmer's decision to appoint Peter Mandelson as ambassador to the United States, despite Mandelson's known link to Epstein, the late U.S. sex offender. Mandelson has been under investigation since his name appeared in files related to the Epstein case released by the U.S. Department of Justice. Starmer said politics should be a force for good and stressed the importance of moving forward after the resignations. Mandelson was sacked in September because of his friendship with Epstein and recently left both the Labour Party and the House of Lords. The Foreign and Commonwealth Office is reviewing an exit payment he received after his dismissal. And similarly, the Prince and Princess of Wales have said they are deeply concerned by the latest revelations about Jeffrey Epstein in their first public statements on the scandal. A Kensington Palace spokesperson said Prince William and Princess Catherine were focused on the victims in light of new information contained in documents related to the late sex offenders released in the US. The statement was released after more allegations against Andrew Mountbatten Windsor emerged, increasing the scrutiny on the former prince. Although the two-line statement from the Prince and Princess of Wales made no direct reference to Epstein, Andrew or his ex-wife Sarah Ferguson, who has also faced further questions in light of the latest document release. It remains significant, if not explicit. It was published as Prince William prepared to begin an official visit to Saudi Arabia, a trip which has been viewed as highly significant diplomatically. He and royal aides are well aware that as headlines around Epstein continue to swell, so does the scrutiny on the royal family's response. And now to Latin America. Venezuela's public prosecutor's office has said opposition figure Juan Pablo Guanipa has been rearrested shortly after his release. In a statement on Monday, the office said 61-year-old Guanipa, an ally of Nobel laureate Maria Corina Machado, had not complied with the terms of his release on Sunday without elaborating. It said Guanipa, accused of leading a terrorist plot, has been put under house arrest in order to safeguard the criminal process. Guanipa, who was vice president of Venezuela's National Assembly, was first arrested in May 2025 after a month in hiding. His release on Sunday made him one of hundreds of political prisoners freed since January 8, when the government, under pressure from the United States, announced a new series of releases. The release of political prisoners comes weeks after President Nicolas Maduro was adopted by the U.S. forces in a military operation in Caracas and taken to the U.S. Maduro has since been indicted on drug and gun charges. He has pleaded not guilty. 8 Muslim majority countries have strongly condemned Israel over what they describe as an attempt to impose unlawful Israeli sovereignty in the occupied West Bank. The condemnation followed Israel's approval of new measures that expand its control in the territory and make it easier for Israeli settlers to acquire land. In a statement released on Monday by Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry, Egypt, Indonesia, Jordan, Pakistan, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates denounced the move in the strongest terms. The countries warned that the decision violates international law and further undermines the rights of Palestinians in the occupied territory. The new measures approved by Israel's Security Cabinet on Sunday include allowing Jewish Israelis to buy private property in the West Bank, opening previously restricted land records, and increasing Israeli supervision in areas administered by the Palestinian Authority. Israeli officials said the move is aimed at strengthening Israel's presence in the territory, a position that has drawn sharp criticism from regional and international actors. And lastly, Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show was one big love letter to his native Puerto Rico, culminating in a message of pride in his home and the Americas, and an appeal for unity with the US. The 14-minute set included guest performances from Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin, along with cameos from the likes of Pedro Pascal, Cardi B, Karol G, and Jessica Alba, who could be seen dancing on the pouch of his famous casita, a staple of his show designed to look like a traditional Puerto Rican home. The 31-year-old, who was the world's most played artist in 2025, according to Spotify, made history by becoming the first musician to perform entirely in Spanish at a Super Bowl, which is normally the most watched event in US TV. He did choose to say one line in English, "God bless America," before listing nations of Central, South, and North America as dancers carried their flags. Behind them, a billboard message read, "The only thing more powerful than hate is love." And he held a football at the end of the segment, bearing the slogan in English, "Together we are America." However, Bad Bunny, real name Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, did not use his performance to make any explicit political statements against the U.S. administration. Despite that, U.S. President Donald Trump, who did not attend this year's Super Bowl, called Bad Bunny's set absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever, on his social media platform, Trust Social. Well, you expect that from Donald Trump. Any show he does not attend, he will surely have a comment to say about that show. And that wraps up the program, but before we go, the headlines once again. Netanyahu to meet Trump in US to discuss Iran. 2 babies among 53 people dead or missing after boat capsizes off Libya. Hong Kong media mogul Jimmy Lai sentenced to 20 years in prison. And UK Prime Minister Starmer's communications chief quits amid Epstein scandal fallout. From me, Omike Joseph Matthew, I do have a lovely day, and let's meet again next time. Bye-bye for now.